What's up, hockey fans? Welcome back to another video. And if your team is not the Montreal Canadiens or the Tampa Bay Lightning, the offseason's already begun for you. I'm a Jets fan, and like all other 30, I guess 29, not 32 yet, because Seattle isn't existent yet. Point being, I guess since all of us are in the offseason right now, we should start talking about what to expect with some of these upcoming players and their deals and whatnot, and how it's going to look going into next season and where these guys are going to sign. And today I want to talk and focus in this video about two players who are very similar in stat-wise, yet are in situations that are a little bit different because one is an RFA and one is a UFA. And the two players, obviously you can tell from the title of this video, is Winnipeg Jets forward Andrew Copp and Toronto Maple Leafs forward Zach Hyman. And the reason why I wanted to do both of these players together in a video is because recently I was talking with some Leafs fans and some Jets fans in my Discord that I run over with Hot Garbage Sports and Nolan Hockey Podcast. Definitely go follow and join that if you wanted to have discussions with us about anything sport related, really. It's down in the descriptions as always in every video. Point being, though, we talked a lot about how the comparisons between Hyman and Copp, just on the way they play and also on the stat sheets, how their numbers they put up, and how everything is similar they really are when you look at their production on the ice and how they play the game of hockey, and how their current deals could shape up next year, as both of them, I said, are on expiring deals, Copp being an unrestricted free agent and Zach Hyman being other way around there, ladies and gentlemen. Zach Hyman is going to be a unrestricted free agent, while Andrew Copp is a restricted free agent. And because of that, I think it's interesting to talk about what these deals are going to look like, because when you think about the Winnipeg Jets, they do have some cap if they want to keep Andrew Copp. The Toronto Maple Leafs, on the other hand, do have some cap, mind you, but they still have to make a lot of different decisions, because ironically, even though both of these teams had very big letdowns this season on how they ended, one of them was able to make it to the second round while the other one wasn't. I'm sorry, Leafs fans. I'm not trying to rub anything in. I'm really not. You guys probably have a harder offseason outlook compared on what you want your identity of the team to be based on how much success you've had in the playoffs compared to where Winnipeg is currently right now and the talent they lack and what they need to be pushed over the edge to make it past the second round potentially. And when you look at these two players, honestly, their stats, they're very, very similar. When you can just compare based off of normal stats, not advanced here, Andrew Copp in 55 games this year compared to Zach Hyman's 43, so already playing more games, was able to get the exact same amount of goals, tied in with 15 goals. Andrew Copp leading with 24 assists, and then every other major stat really going towards Andrew Copp minus the plus minus and penalty minutes, which is definitely in favor of Zach Hyman. And also, Zach Hyman is a bigger hitter with 69 hits, but Andrew Copp hit 67 times this year. So again, very, very similar stats. These guys are very similar the way they play the game, obviously. Andrew Copp is a center, but as Jets fans know, he's more of a better used winger, and he mostly jumps up to the top six and plays as a winger. That's where he scores a lot of his points this season especially, and last season at times as well. So even though he is a center on paper, he is definitely more of a winger for the Winnipeg Jets like Zach Hyman is, and I think that that's a very interesting situation to compare these two guys, because when you just go look at Zach Hyman's last couple of seasons in the NHL and compare that to where Andrew Copp is, and by the way, Zach Hyman currently is 29 years old, so he is definitely a few years older than Andrew Copp, who is currently 26, so also keep that in mind. There is a difference in his age there because of the age on how long the term might be and how good that contract will be and whatnot. You know, you don't want to give a 29-year-old the same term you're giving a 26-year-old, because 26-year-old's younger. You know, I don't need to really explain that there, but the point is that when you look at Zach Hyman going up from the 2020 to 2018, starting with the 2018 season, 71 games played, 21 goals, 20 assists for 41 points. The year after that, 51 games played, 21 goals, 16 points for 37 points, and then this last season, 43 games played, 15 goals, 18 assists for 33 points. So really just bubbling around that 30 to 40 point range. And then when you go over and look at Andrew Copp the last couple of seasons, his point totals are definitely not as high, but this year he definitely had a career year and had more points this year than Zach Hyman did. Going back from 2018, 69 games played, 11 goals, 14 assists for 25 points. 2019-20, 63 games played, 10 goals, 16 assists for 26 points. And then obviously this year being his career year, 55 games played, 15 goals, 24 assists for 39 points, having a very good year, career year for him in basically every statistical area. And why I think this is interesting and what really got this whole conversation going in my head is Joel Eriksson Ek, the center currently on the Minnesota Wild, drafted by him in the first round back in 2015, 20th overall, and his deal that he just signed. Because, ladies and gentlemen, if this is the type of deal that this guy can get, I think we're going to have to be prepared to let the Andrew Copp and Zach Hyman walk as fans of both of those clubs, because let me tell you, Joel Eriksson Ek, having a career year, 30 points, gets $5.25 million for the next 8 years. Yes, you heard that right. 30 points gets you $5.25 million. Now, don't get me wrong. I think Joel Eriksson Ek is a great player, and I understand why the Minnesota Wild wanted to keep him. And they're also banking on the fact that he can grow in his progression and be a little bit more dynamic and have that contract maybe carry more of his value if he can get more than 30 points. But from what I've seen from Joel Eriksson Ek, even last year, having only 29 points, so kind of in back-to-back seasons being very similar stat-wise. Obviously, this year, 19 goals compared to the 8 he had last year is definitely a big difference. But also the fact that he played less games and was able to put up one more point. Is he a goal scorer? Is he an assist? You know, what is he? He's still finding his identity really in the NHL. He's only really played, he's played, some years, but even going back to his rookie year in 2017-18 when he was able to play 75 games, only putting up 16 points, he hasn't really had an amazing jump really when you look at his progression. He's just been a really solid guy for the Wild, and making 5.25 compared to a guy like Andrew Copp, who had a career year this year putting up 40 points almost, and then a guy like Zach Hyman, who's kind of just been on that bubble between 30 and 40 for the last 4 years. What are these guys going to get? Will they be making $4 million? Because respectively, I think that's where they're in the ballpark. Between 4 and 4.3 is the max amount of money that I would give Andrew Copp. And for Zach Hyman, I would go as far to say maybe 4.6 is as maybe 5 is maximum. But even then, if you're the Leafs, do you really want to put $5 million into Zach Hyman? Is he really the top 6 guy you want? And that's what brings me back to this entire video for the argument of both these players. That even if you think they are worth $4.5 to $5 million for both of these guys respectively, do you want your team to invest that much money into a guy that is better suited on the third line than a top 6 guy and have them making that much money? Look at Andrew, for example, Jets fans, look at what just was able to happen this year with the Adam Lowry extension. Adam Lowry signing an extension to bring him all the way to 2025-2026, currently 28 years old, at $3.250. Now, that is a very reasonable contract for a guy that has been very consistent defensively and having some good offensive spark and being one of the most underrated third-line centers, in my opinion, in NHL for a long time. So when you have a guy like that taking a hometown discount who is a very good, crucial part of this club at Winnipeg, you want to give him that money. That's a fair deal. You think that that's fair. But for Andrew Copp, a guy who's only been able to jump into the top 6 because of injuries and not have a stable home up there because he's played and been amazing, only having streaks, do you really want to invest that money? And it's the same thing with Hyman. You guys right now have not been able to get out of the first round of the Leafs. You've struggled. Your core, your stars, no matter what you think the issue is, you haven't had that success in the playoffs. Do you want to keep Hyman around for another 4 years, potentially making $5 million or close to that? And if you think that Hyman's going to be taking a discount, I think you really need to question that, because a team will definitely overpay for Zach Hyman. You always have to remember, in the NHL free agency, teams will always overpay. Always. It just happens every year, regardless of the talent that is available. The teams always overplay, and GMs are desperate for talent in free agency, especially if they're a team that hasn't drafted well or a team on that cusp of trying to contend still but aren't there and they don't know what they're missing, trying to throw any pieces together to see what fits. That is exactly what you're going to be getting from a lot of teams this year, and because of the cap also going down, you could be thinking that is the only way you might be able to keep both of these guys on realistic deals. But also, I ask you this, these guys are kind of in this weird premier spot where they're replaceable talent that is also fan favorite and very good fit with the current clubs that they're on. So because of all those factors when you bring it into it, and also the big fact that a guy like Joel Eriksson Ek, who let me remind you, is younger by all of these guys by 2 years. Andrew Copp is younger by him by 2 years, and and 5 years younger than Zach Hyman. So, let the wheels cog in your brain, work all that out. If a guy that is 24 years old signs an 8-year deal at 5.25, Zach Hyman is currently 29 years old, and Andrew Copp is 26, where do you think the money falls for these guys on term and everything? For Andrew Copp, I would not give him anything more than 4 years at $4.25 million. That is where I think Andrew Copp is at a fair value for what he brings as a guy who is better suited at the third line and a guy that can help with the top 6 during injuries, but not a stable top 6 contributor that you want to build a cup contending team around. I'm sorry, it's just how I feel about Andrew Copp. I think he's great and I want to keep him, but not at an expensive, exorbitant rate because he thinks that he's a top 6 because he was able to put up 39 points in 55 games. And for Zach Hyman, who is 29 years old, who has been, a little bit more on points than Andrew Copp, let me remind you, but also let me remind you the fact that Zach Hyman's best year was 41 points, and that was a few years ago when he was younger, and Andrew Copp this year was able to put up 39. So when you put all those things together, I think currently the best value for Zach Hyman is probably between $4.5 to $4.6 million. I think that is very fair for what he brings. You could make the argument that you could say, obviously, he could deserve 5.25 compared to what Joel Eriksson got, but I think that that's a big contribution to age. So when I look at Zach Hyman, I think that's his best fit. Maybe I'm undervaluing these guys, but personally for me, if I'm a GM, I'm not investing a ton of money into a guy that is better suited on the third line, that is replaceable when it comes to top 6 talent, because you don't want to have a replaceable level guy that is making $5 million playing in your top 6, because that's a contract that's going to be very hard to move unless you give up assets to do so. So because of all those reasons, that's kind of where I fall with these guys. So when it comes down to the fact, when you have to choose, if you're Winnipeg and Toronto, between giving the money to these guys that they think they deserve, or potentially walking away and finding a better option in between with what you have in the prospects already you've drafted, or within other free agents, or potentially making trades, however it goes, I think the best option for both of these clubs personally is to walk away from these players if they're demanding too much money and they're worth more than they're what they are as role players, because that's what they are, very good role players. They're not stars. They shouldn't be paid $5+ million potentially, like I've seen some fans saying Hyman could earn. So that's my thoughts on all this. Let me know all of yours down in the comment section below, ladies and gentlemen. I'm always curious to hear your thoughts. Leafs fans, what would you like to pay for Zach Hyman? How much do you want to keep him around? All your thoughts about him and the situation you guys are going to be going into this offseason. I'd love to hear all your thoughts about that in the description. Comments below as always. Jets fans, same thing goes for you. How do you feel about Copp and all that jazz? Let me know down there as well. Make sure to go check out the description and follow all my associated links. Check out my Twitter, Instagram. Make sure to check out the Prairie Puck podcast out well here, which drops on YouTube and on Spotify. With all that being said, peace, love, and positivity to all you beautiful people out there in the world, wherever you are. Hope you're having a great rest of your day. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for clicking this video. I'm Peg City Hockey, and bye-bye.